Hello, everybody. Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you the weekly recap for Week 3 of the GBA, and I am here with my lovely host, or co-host.
What is going on, GBA? I am the Confusion, here with you guys to talk about the weekly recaps.
And before we really get into it, I just wanted to apologize for something in last week's recaps. I made a joke about the Borussia DONPHAN, and it was a joke. Admittedly, I had not heard of them to the extent that a lot of other international, particularly European soccer fans might have. I was just making a joke at the fact that Americans generally do not pay attention to soccer, so I apologize for those of you who thought I was serious. But without further ado, you know what? Let's just go ahead and start with the New York Metapods, coached by Dan, versus the infamous Borussia DONPHANs, coached by Lars. New York brought Chansey, Flagon, Victini, Galvantula, Mega Altaria, and Rotom Wash, while Borussia brought Scizor, Shaman, Mega Alakazam, Skuntank, Landorus Incarnate, and Druddigon. And I know I talk about pressure all the time, but at Team Preview, I immediately noticed the Volturn potential from New York, and despite the ground type for the Donphan in Landorus I, it's slower than Galvantula, who often carries HP Ice, and could not beat Rotom 1v1, so it's really not a true stop to the Volturn strategy, as neither of those Volt Switchers were choiced. Dazzling Gleam from Victini was able to catch the Druddigon early, and with Drud gone, Lars was very susceptible to fire spam from Victini and Mega Altaria, while Skuntank was able to limit the damage Victini could do by winning the Pursuit versus Sucker Punch / Crunch mind game. The threat still persisted. However, once Druddigon did go down, nothing seemed to go down for a while, with Mega Altaria and Shaman kind of engaging in a number of standoffs, which led me to leave, go get some popcorn, do some groceries, complete some homework, come back, and then still see them with Shaman going for Leech Seed and Altaria going for Roost. But once Shaman went down, the action was finally forced, with KOs being exchanged and finally culminating in Scarf Flygon being able to clean up the game.
Yeah, you could definitely see how the Donphans are really susceptible to a Scarfed Flygon, even Victini. Druddigon was such an obvious answer to Victini, even though it works, and he could have brought a banded V-Create, but these two have battled like so many times in the past. They know each other really well. They both have Pokemon they've used in the past, like Landorus, Druddigon, and Victini. So it's kind of hard, as from a team building perspective, to kind of team build again. So it's easy to see how the Metapods were able to use Victini to take down Druddigon, knowing what kind of set it was probably going to bring, because it has to bring it. V-Create, if you look at his team, destroys absolutely everything. The Scissor, the Shaman, Mega Alakazam, Skuntank, and Landorus. It just hurts so many things, especially with the Sticky Webs. Sticky Webs plus a V-Create could destroy it, so Dan played on the fact that he had to bring the Rough Skin Rocky Helmet Druddigon, played around that. You saw how annoying the Shaman was with the Leech Seed. Dan played around it very well, finally got a Fire Blast off on it, and from there, with a little bit more whittling down, Flygon could finally take the cake and kill the rest of the team with Outrage. Thank God for the 3-turn, not 2-turn confusion on the Outrage.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, really, like you said, Victini just put in so much work, and Fire in general, just the Fire coverage plus super effective on Druddigon was able to threaten the entirety of Lars's team, and nothing was really able to switch in. So the fact that the Victini, who was supposed to be checked by the Druddigon, was actually able to take out the Druddigon was really just kind of indicative of how this match was able to go for New York.
Yeah, for sure. So let's move right on along into the Real Murillo versus MEWCASTLE United. The Real Murillo brought Gothitelle, Weavile, Mega Blastoise, Registeel, Zipstrika, and Primeape, while MEWCASTLE United brought their Crocodile, Kyurem, Electros, Dragonite, Suicune, and Mew. And right off the bat, we have Scarf Primeape up against the Crocodile. Crocodile is bringing Intimidate, and boom, that is a Defiant boost. Miguel was really happy to see that, because if you look at it, Primeape with its coverage really went ham on the MEWCASTLE United's team. Fu didn't really have much for it. You could see, if you looked at Fu's perspective, he had a game plan. Like, he needed rocks. He needed to get rid of the Shuka Berry on the Registeel, and then he could sweep with the Dragonite. And when he finally came to the point where Dragonite was ready to sweep, it couldn't do it. It couldn't kill off the I believe it couldn't kill off the Regiseal. No, it killed
No,
off
the
the Regiseal.
Primeape.
It couldn't kill off the Primeape. Primeape just went for Ice Punch on everything, finishing off the game. Weavile had so much momentum throughout the game. Suicune was had an Assault Vest, and it was knocked off immediately. It put on some pressure on the Gothitelle, but Miguel was really able to play around that. Electros kind of had some issues with Miguel, but he also knew how to really work around it. Substrika being able to switch in on the Volt switches. Curon putting in a lot of pressure, but the Scarf Primeape really took a lot of pressure off Miguel's team and pretty much hit everything really, really, really hard.
Yeah, and I noticed that too. But at Team Preview, while you noticed the Primeape, I kind of noticed the potency of Weavile, in combination with Gothitelle. I mean, Weavile was capable of carrying super effective moves on 2/3 of MEWCASTLE's team with the exception of Electros and Suicune, but Electros isn't a switch-in, and if Suicune were to be trapped and KO'd by Gothitelle, Weavile could just put in huge amounts of work, and that actually kind of went exactly as I thought it would, but a Shadow Ball plus Spidef drop from the Suicune prevented Gothitelle, whom we knew to have Energy Ball, from being able to trap it, but the Suicune still sustained heavy damage from a crit knockoff, so I mean, I guess it kind of evens out-ish, maybe, I don't know. But really, the biggest turn in the match for me came when Miguel predicted Fufu to switch in his Kyurem into Miguel's Mega Blastoise, catching it on the switch with Dragon Pulse, and weakening that, the final thing that Weavile didn't have super effective coverage on. I mean, Weavile didn't have low kick as we saw in his team building video, but, I mean, Primeape, what more can I say about it? That thing just put in absolute work. I mean, I love Defiant. It's one of my favorite abilities, and not enough stuff gets it, but Primeape was able to use excellent use of that and turn Crocodile's normal boon in Intimidate into an advantage for Primeape.
Yeah, Miguel also took advantage of his Volt turn core with Primeape and Substrika. Even though there are lower picks in the tiering system, they worked beautifully for Miguel, allowing Pokemon like Gothitelle and Mega Blastoise to come in a little bit more freely. If you looked at Gothitelle's set, Calm Mind Rest with its coverage moves really did so much work, but the Assault Vest, Shadow Ball coming off from that max special attack Modest Suicune kind of scared it off and didn't let it do that much. Crocodile actually got a crit Earthquake on it, which I don't think mattered in the whole, but I knew it wouldn't have killed if he didn't get the crit. So it was really interesting to see this game play out. Primeape at the end, just face monkey, just taking it for the win. It was pretty cool to see that. We had the Mew with Substitute, but Mega Blastoise easily took those side shocks and took out the subs with the Dark Pulse. So Miguel really did plan very, very well for Fu's team, and although Fu, his game plan did work out, the extreme speed couldn't finish off the Primeape. I do believe it was a roll, so that's another game where Miguel was so close to being able to win/lose it, and he ended up winning it because of that roll 2 games in a row. But still, Miguel played really, really well, so props to him and props to Fu for making sure his plan went according to plan.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that same way, and Ash would have been proud that Primeape was able to come through. I mean, Primeape proved that it deserved to win that fighting championship. I think it was like in the middle of the Indigo League or something like that. But that being said, let's just jump right on over to the San Jose Sharpedos coached by Tom versus the San Francisco Arcaniners coached by George. San Jose brought Mamoswine, Cobalion, Arcanine, Jellicent, Machamp, and Mega Aerodactyl, while San Francisco brought Infernape, Nidoqueen, Milotic, Latias, Spiritomb, and Snorlax. And in the spirit of sticking with the whole team previews and first impressions, at a glance, I noticed at how much potential work a Choice Banded or Life Orb Mamoswine would have been able to do to George's team. Even with max defense, Milotic would have been 2-hit KO'd by Adamant Earthquake after Rocks. Physical Nidoqueen really caught Tom off guard early as it heavily damaged the Machamp and Jellicent, and then Scarf Latias continued the somewhat surprise sets as it was able to pick up a KO on the Mega Aerodactyl while not allowing that potential threat to do anything at all. Mega Aerodactyl did not get off a single hit if I remember correctly. While Tom did have the defensive combination of Arcanine and Jellicent give George some trouble late game, ultimately Energy Ball Latias was able to clean up the game, taking out Cobalion, Mamo, and Jellicent, and unfortunately my prediction wasn't correct, but potential at Team Preview doesn't always translate to success in battle.
Yeah, the game was amazing. I actually think that when you look at the San Jose Sharpedos and Tom and how he did, I think he team built and performed very, very well. He was up against a super tough opponent, but I really want to say props to him. He battled very well. He brought the right things. He speed crept his Jellicent to outspeed the Milotic, get the taunt off. The Coil Waterfall Recover Toxic set was beautiful, but Tom was able to capitalize on it and taunt it, and it forced Milotic to switch out every time unless it wanted to heal up the Jellicent. Arcanine on the Infernape. We saw that the Arcaniners brought some very interesting sets with the Scarfed Latios, their Spiritomb. We have AV Snorlax. The Milotic set was just cash, and a Life Orb Infernape. So I really think Tom did very well in predicting it. He couldn't take the hits, and I think that's why he kind of lost in this battle. But I think every play was very, very good on his part. I didn't see that many mispredictions. I didn't see that many misplays. I think he played very beautifully, and I could definitely see that he is really improving. So props to him, and obviously props to the Arcaniners for taking a 3-0 in their favor.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, but I do think one of Tom's biggest weaknesses, and I've noticed it over the past couple weeks, is that he does not scout as much as I think he needs to. I mean, his lack of scouting resulted in both Machamp and Jellicent sustaining heavy damage from the physical Nidoqueen, and even the Scarfalati being able to take out Mega Aerodactyl, who would have been a huge threat otherwise. So I think in the coming weeks, his team building has definitely improved and will just continue to improve, but I do think he needs to work a little bit more on scouting out the sets of his opponent to try to keep from getting surprise KOs on him.
Yeah, I definitely see him improving, but he does have to work on it for sure. So let's move on along to the battle between the Boston Red Sox and the San Diego Chimchargers. Boston Red Sox brought their Jolteon, Mega Venusaur, Skarmory, Alakazam, Feraligatr, and Kyurem Black, while the Chimchargers brought Jirachi, Togekiss, Donphan, Gyarados, finally their Mega Ampharos, and Gorebyss.
So I have a question for you before you get into this.
Yeah.
What is MV's Kyurem B switching?
Wakanberry Gyarados.
Anyway, yeah. Continue.
Yeah, so let's just start from the beginning. We have a beautiful Calm-Mind Jirachi, really taking the lead, doing so much damage to the Jolteon, the Skarmory, even the Alakazam. It got to get that T-Wave off, but Jirachi putting on so much initial pressure, which which really did well in the beginning. Togekiss with its Air Slash, Donphan being able to soak up a Waterfall from the Feraligatr and Custap into whatever it needed to do. I guess Gyarados was a primary answer to Kyurem Black, because towards the end of the battle, it was able to eat up a Bolt Strike, set up a Dragon Dance, and snipe it with that Earthquake.
Fusion Bolt.
Fusion Bolt? Oh, I'm sorry.
If it got Bolt Strike, that'd be really good.
Oh my god, they're so confusing. We have Agility Mega Ampharos, which was interesting to see. It obviously breaks the mold, so Jolteon wasn't...
I mean, it does have Mold Breaker.
Yeah, that's why it breaks the mold. So Jolteon wasn't that good of an answer. Mega Venusaur was a great answer, so I don't know why Agility was brought. I mean, it worked out in MV's favor, but Mega Venusaur was able to take Mega Ampharos's... Wow, talk about a tongue twister. It was able to take Ampharos's hits relatively well. Feraligatr couldn't really set up. Jolteon died very, very quickly. MV just knows how to have that early momentum. His sets worked nicely. Gorebyss, again, it got the Shell Smash off, but it didn't really do much with it, I guess. So it still got a big hit off, I believe, with the Psychic. And then Giga Drain kind of picked it off with the Mega Venusaur. But otherwise, MV had a lot of momentum. He knew exactly what the Red Sox are going to do. Read him like a book. His sets all worked according to plan, and that's pretty much why MV won.
Yeah, I mean, I actually liked the Gorebyss play where he Shell Smashed up on the Mega Venusaur, because without it, Mega Venusaur would have been able to tank the Psychics, Synthesis up, and whatnot. With Gorebyss going for the Shell Smash and getting to +2 and showing Psychic, it forced Mega Venusaur to deal with it and take it out, leaving it in a susceptible range to be picked off by Togekiss. And the big play of the battle came when Envy had Togekiss, Gyarados, and Mega Ampharos left, while Nick had Kyurem Black and Feraligatr. Feraligatr was out against Togekiss, and without an Air Slash flinch, Gator would have knocked out the Togekiss, and the game would have come down to if +1 Gyara would have done enough damage to take out Kyurem B from, I believe it was around 75%. However, none of that really happened as Togekiss just flinched the Gator and pretty much ended the game right there, but I'm really not sure if the Gyarados with bounce would have been able to take out the Kyurem B from that range, and that would have determined the game right there if not for the flinch.
Yeah, for sure. I'm also not sure if the Earthquake would have done enough damage. I think that's the move he ended up going for. But I think Bounce would have probably been more powerful because it's stab, right?
Yeah.
But it was definitely a hard game. They both played really well. You can't say the Boston Red Sox didn't know what they're doing. Kyurem Black destroyed his team, but he brought a Conberry Gyarados. You can't plan for a Conberry Gyarados. You don't think it's going to take it, but it does. It sets up the Dragon Dance, and it took the game. Obviously, the Air Slash, at least it didn't bring Iron Head on Jirachi. Then I would have been like, go home. You need to stop right there. But it was just a Togekiss. The flinches mattered. He got crits, he got flinches. So the hacks was there. The game definitely could have went differently if the hacks wasn't there. But it's Pokemon. Hacks exists. You can't ignore it. And Envy used it to his advantage.
Yeah, I mean, Envy, you know I love you, but you are very disgusting for having both Jirachi and Togekiss on your team. That being said, we're going to go on to the San Francisco Giants coached by Gio versus the Pittsburgh Piratas coached by Tup. San Francisco brought Manaphy, Cresselia, Entei, Chestnut, Zapdos, and Ditto, while Pittsburgh brought Rotom, Heat, Hippowdon, Excadrill, Azelf, Heracross, and Tentacruel. And with the team preview, the biggest thing that stuck out about this match was the potential for Manaphy to do immense work depending on the sets of Rotom, Heat, and Azelf, as well as the Ditto's ability to check Excadrill. And yes, I know that was two things instead of one, but just go with it. The early part of the match was a lot of scouting and safe plays, with Signal Beam Azelf being able to heavily damage the Crest and scare out the rest of San Francisco's team with its potential coverage. However, its tirade was cut short by a Choice Banded Extreme Speed from Entei, eliminating that threat for the remainder of the game. I want to give a little bit of love to Tup for using Toxic Spikes, but Defog Zapdos killed my dreams of T-Spikes doing much of anything. T-Spikes are kind of my favorite move, so I love whenever they do anything at all. And my prediction for the match came through, well, in a way, as towards the end, a Tail Glow Manaphy was able to knock out Hippowdon, which, while it was only a single knockout, prevented Sand from going up for the rest of the match, allowing Zapdos to clean up Tup's team with super effective coverage. Oh, and Chestnut, way to be a beast for taking on both Heracross and Excadrill and living to tell about it.
Yeah, I definitely think the main part of this battle was towards the end, seeing how well Chestnut handled 3 different Pokemon in Heracross, Tentacruel, and Excadrill. I was a little interested on the moves he brought, Superpower and Woodhammer. I think Drain Punch could have probably worked instead of Woodhammer. He could have broken Excadrill's substitutes without having to take recoil damage from Woodhammer, or lowering its attack and defense with Superpower. But Chestnut's still putting in so much worth with the Synthesis. Gio really played around the sand very, very efficiently. I gotta give props for the turn 1, sending out the Ditto up against the Rotom Heat. This battle just shows how well Ditto can not only sweep a team with your own Pokemon, but it can stop your own Pokemon dead in its tracks, and you can't plan for yourself. You can't have all your Pokemon plan for themselves to be up against each other, because if you're gonna prepare to be up against yourself, Ditto Scarfed, and it'll probably do that a little better. So Ditto, even though it didn't do much this game, I think just having it initially put a lot of pressure, first-hand pressure on the Pittsburgh Piratas, and allowed Gio to kind of take control. Cresselia just being fat, I think his team just really stopped Tup's team from really doing all that much.
Yeah, I mean, Ditto, I have sung the praises of Ditto before, and I will sing them again. I mean, Ditto is so underrated in draft format, in my opinion at least, because it is a one-mon setup deterrent. It can also be used for scouting early game. I mean, it's just so many different... Well, I mean, it's like one use technically for Ditto, but it has so many advantages to using it. So I really think that Ditto is overlooked and underrated in draft format.
I agree. So let's move along to the Atlanta Halucha versus the Philadelphia Scissors. The Atlanta Haluchas and Fizz brought Volcanion, Porygon Z, Salamence, Whimsicott, Mega Scissor, and Zoroark, while the Philadelphia Scissors and Chimp brought Mega Diancie, Steelix, Metagross, Cofagrigus, Tornadus, Therian, and Politoed. And the first thing I have to say is Steam Eruption. What takes the Steam Eruption? What takes the Fire Blast? Did you see that Fire Blast 2-hit KO the Politoed at that certain point?
Okay, I'm going to jump in. I apologize for interrupting you, but I had to pause the video because my jaw just dropped when I saw the counter in Politoed get cleanly 2-hit KO'd by a Fire Blast. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Sorry, you can continue now.
No, you're right. Volcanion is so hard to counter, and I'm so happy Fizz showed it off. This was a perfect battle to show it off. You would think the Scissors would probably have a more bulkier Politoed, but you can't. Volcanion with Specs was too powerful, and if you watched Fizz's team builder, you would know that he wasn't even planning on bringing Specs. He wanted to bring Assault Vest, but I guess Specs was just meant to be because it wrecked shop. Porygon 2 and Whimsicott, the two of those formed a really good core, even though it wouldn't seem like it. They switched in on certain Pokemon very, very well, stopped Cofagrigus, Steelix at certain points. Mega Scissor at the end, just bullet punching. The pressure of bullet punch towards Mega Diancie was very powerful. U-turn, Zoroark being there along with Salamence just put on so much pressure this game. And I know someone commented last time that I say pressure a little too much. But welcome to Pokemon. Everything's about the amount of momentum and pressure you have, and Fizz had it all. So he played really, really well, and I have to give him all the props. Even though Chimpact did play well, I think Fizz really showed off his capabilities like he did last season.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about pressure, and Volcanion put on enough pressure in this match to even start, like, just producing diamonds. Okay, I'm sorry, that was a horrible, horrible, horrible pun. All of you guys are right to boo me / leave hate in the comment section.
I'm going to leave a comment in the comment section booing you.
But I mean, hey, at least Diancie was in there, so I mean, the diamond comment can kind of make sense a little bit. But really, I mean, this match was just a showing of how powerful Volcanion is, and that's really what it came down to. Although at the end of the match, I did kind of question the logic of going for Iron Tail on Diancie when he did have a Burnt Scizor in the back. So, I mean, the Burnt Scizor, if Iron Tail missed, would not have been able to knock out the Diancie from full. And while Scizor could have taken any hit Diancie wanted to throw back at it, I did question why he went for Iron Tail and not the safer Earthquake. But, I mean, I guess it just came down to he wanted to get a little bit better of a differential, so he figured that it would be worth it to go for Iron Tail to potentially get the +1 advantage rather than the guaranteed whatever he would have gotten if Salamence had not gone down. So, I mean, that made me question a little bit, but when I dove more into the calcs, it made a lot more sense.
Yeah, that last turn actually scared me. You know Iron Tail's accuracy is not the best in the world, so I was like, should he have gone for Earthquake? I don't know. Maybe it would have killed, maybe it would have. He probably knew the calcs better than I do, but I was so scared to see Iron Tail, like, don't miss. Like, it was very scary to see, but it was very, very thrilling to see it actually land and completely knock out the Fairy. The opposing Fairy up against the Dragon, and the Dragon just destroyed it. Also, I want to say that Porygon 2 actually did a lot of work taking out Cofagrigus and just being fat. Like, it got worn down at the end, but that didn't matter because it just took so many hits and put on, again, a lot of pressure. It did very, very well, so I'm very happy to see that the Porygon 2 was able to do that. Zoroark didn't get as much love, but it was able to, I think, knock off a little and U-turn around, kind of pretend to be Scissor. But again, that Salamence at the end, just taking out the Mega Diancie, landed the Iron Tail. Mega Diancie was at full, so maybe Earthquake wouldn't have killed, but I think that was a great way to end that battle.
Yeah, it wouldn't have killed, but I mean, it would have gotten a guaranteed bullet punch KO from Scizor. And I mean, with Iron Tail, I just have such bad experience with it. I mean, my friend Jolt, he has the worst luck I've ever seen. Knowing him, he would have not only missed the Iron Tail, but Bullet Punch would have missed somehow, and then he would have lost the game from that point just because he didn't go for the completely safe play. However, we're done with that. We're moving on to the Milwaukee Saucebucks, coached by Steve, aka Battler X, versus the Utah Jasmine and Cooper. Milwaukee brought Sandslash, Heliolisk, Mega Pinsir, Saucebuck, Slowbro, and Heatran, while Utah brought Sableye, Clefable, Mega Gallade, Empoleon, Magnezone, Stone and Claydol, and it was really obvious from before the game even started that both Megas would put in a tremendous amount of work against both teams. I mean, given that Gallade had the right coverage move, but Hacks started early as a freeze prevented Sandslash from being able to spin away rocks, which was absolutely crucial for keeping Mega Pinsir healthy. And despite not getting a single KO, which hopefully will knock it out of the MVP race, Claydol put in an immense amount of work with the aforementioned freeze on Sandslash, in addition to about 85% on Slowbro, which allowed Gallade the free Mega and KO on one of the only things preventing its sweep, really. And those rocks that that Sandslash was not able to spin away. Can you imagine if Slowbro got Rapid Spin? Jeez. But those rocks gave Mega Pinsir just a timer. Put it on a timer, gave it a limited number of switch-ins, which incredibly hindered Battler X's ability to check a Mega Gallade, who, with Drain Punch, couldn't even be worn down by the Scarf Heliolisk, barring a crit or a para. Without the freeze on Sandslash, and I'm assuming Sandslash would have spun the rocks away that turn, I still think Mega Gallade could have overwhelmed Milwaukee, but it would have been closer. Rocks or not, my props for the battle goes to sturdy Magnezone, being able to tank the Earthquake from Mega Pinsir and knock it out, which allowed physical Empoleon, to clean up late game.
Yeah, two things all I really have to say about this game. One is Sawsbuck came and Sawsbuck got a kill. I think that's pretty cool, but I don't think it was really worth it. Like, of course you want to have Sawsbuck come in and do some work, but I'm not sure if this was really the battle that it was going to do that. Empoleon, with its Earthquakes, did so much, and of course, sturdy Magnezone. These are the things I want to look at Battler X and say you need to look at these things before you battle. You need to, think about these things a little more. I guess, in hindsight, it could have been analytic. He didn't know. It was probably his best option, but it's just so, hard to see it happen, But, other than that, let's move right along to our last game, which is the New Orleans Pelipers up against the Tampa Bay Luxrays. Pelipers brought Landorus Therian, Mega Lopunny, Scavalier, Gastrodon, Reuniclus, and Latios, and the Tampa Bay Luxrays in mono brought Emboar, Garchomp, Excelgor, Mandibuzz, Amoonguss, and Azumarill. First up, we have the Excelgor up against the Mega Lopunny. Obviously, the Mega Lopunny is going to go for the fake out. It doesn't want to take a final gambit, and usually Excelgor, if it's going to be that first turn and it comes in, is usually going to have a Focus Sash. But Mono played on that. He had Protect and then Focus Blast, even though he went for the safe spikes. Obviously, Mega Lopunny switching out doesn't want to take those hits. But all around, Mono just had so much Pokemon that answered to his a lot better. Amoonguss, up against the Gastrodon, I love how he used Spore and saw that the Gastrodon didn't have leftovers and assumed that it was going to have the Rindo Berry and the Mirror Coat and spored it and was safe. I think that was such a great play on his part. Garchomp, again, gets knocked off by the Escavalier. Obviously, every Rocky Helmet user up against the New Orleans Pelipers gets knocked off. Rocky Helmet is just really good against Mega Lopunny. It wants to come in, fake out, do a little bit of damage. Garchomp, even without the Rocket Helmet, has the Rough Skin, so he's not losing out on having damage on the Mega Lopunny. But Garchomp had to go down a little early because of, I believe, Latios. Reuniclus coming with the Magic Guard instead of the Regenerator, which I think is really cool. Trick Room, picking off a couple Pokemon, and at the end we get to see Azumarill again do a little bit of work, and then Amoonguss. And I think that was an awesome battle. Mono really showing that he's going to come into the league and storm through it. He's not even using Pokemon that he drafted, and he's really playing with them so well. He actually has an amazing roster. So it's really cool to see him take advantage of these Pokemon, play with them very, very nicely, and I think he's going to do amazing from now on. He seems to know exactly what he's doing with these Pokemon, and his sets are all working, so props to him.
Yeah, complete props to Mono for just jumping in with something that he didn't draft, he didn't plan for, but still succeeding with. And one thing that I actually found kind of funny about this battle was when Landorus T used Gravity. I mean, normally that is a great way to take on Landorus's counter, such as like Skarmory or Mandibuzz in this situation. However, it almost bit New Orleans in the butt, as Latios was almost knocked out by Spike's damage. I mean, almost knocked out by foul play after rocks and Spike's damage, which it normally didn't take. So I just thought that was kind of funny. But the MVP for me had to have been Excelgor, who, despite only getting 1 kill, I mean, that kill was on the Latios, which, I mean, I don't see Tampa Bay's switch in for Latios at all. I mean, do you see it? Because I definitely do not.
He did have specially defensive Mandibuzz, but it was getting weakened down. So Excelgor being able to kill that
even
thing.
So, like, it had Latios had Thunderbolt, which even specially defensive Mandibuzz won't be able to beat it 1v1. But Excelgor took out Latios. It brought Mega Lopunny into Spike's range to where it couldn't switch out. And even just that layer of spikes put so much pressure on New Orleans' team. And yeah, I mean, Excelgor was great. Amoonguss was just Amoonguss as usual, and that was really it. I mean, that was a great battle, and that being said, let's just go ahead and jump right on over to the league standings, unless you have anything final to add about that battle.
Other than the fact that Garchomp not carrying Earthquake, Toxic, Fire Blast, and Toxic all did amazing work, so just awesome planning on Mono's parts. Obviously, the New Orleans Pelipers did have a really good team, but I like how he mixed it up with the Reuniclus and the Gastrodon with the Rindo Berry, but he was just overwhelmed by the amount of bulk and offense that Mono was able to present. But yeah, let's go right into the conference breakdown.
And
standings.
As you guys can see, we have MV continuing his reign of terror at 3-0 plus 7, and then you have the Atlanta Haluchas, who are sitting at 2-1 atop the gold division. And then you go over to the blue and silver, and once again, it's San Francisco's just kind of duking it out at the top. I mean, the top 2 teams in the entire league, although the San Francisco Giants are kind of the top team with almost twice the differential of the San Francisco ARCANINERS. So that's pretty interesting and kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it's really cool to see them all on here, because you have, again, teams at the bottom who are so good, and it's so hard to see them at the bottom because they are such phenomenal players, but the people above them and their teams are just as phenomenal. I love seeing the San Francisco Fire Dogs kind of beat it out up there. That's definitely really cool to see. But don't underwhelm, don't take advantage, don't not prep as much for these lower teams, because they actually are very, very good, and if you don't plan correctly, they will wreck you. Even Battler X, he can definitely do some work if you don't take advantage of the fact that he's a good battler. So right after that, let's move right on into our league leaders. The Pokemon in the GBA who have the most kills and best differentials. Sitting up at number 1, obviously, Jirachi from MV's team, the San Diego Chimchargers. Jirachi with 7 kills and 1 death, but it is tied with Latias from the San Francisco ARCANINERS, who also has 7 kills and 1 death with like an Energy Ball sweep this week, so that was pretty cool. In third spot, we have Mega Diancie with 6 kills and 2 deaths with a +4 differential. At number 4, we have Infernape, which is really climbing to the top with a 6 kill, 3 deaths, and a +3 differential. Then we have Mega Absol from week 1 with 5 kills, 0 deaths. And from then on, we have Salamence, Volcanion, and Landorus Incarnate, I believe, with 5 kills and 2 deaths. Salamence does have 1 death. And Mega Lopunny with 5 kills and 2 deaths, and then Entei with 4 kills and 0 deaths. I'm glad Claydol and Umbreon are gone. These are Pokemon who look threatening. When you look at these Pokemon with Mega Lopunny, Mega Absol, Infernape, Salamence, and of course Volcanion sitting up there, these are Pokemon that look really threatening, so I'm glad to see that they're all putting in their respective work.
Yeah, these are Pokemon that you would actually expect to be in the top spots of the entire standings, and I do have to say it is an absolute shame that Mega Absol has dropped out of the top 3 and hasn't been used since that week 1 battle, but I'm remaining hopeful, and yeah, the Absol puns will continue as long as Absol is in the top 10. I know I said top 3 they would stop, but you know what? As long as it's in the top 10, I'm going to keep doing it.
I think I need to ride on your train, Sticks, because I mean, Lopunny expected. Nobody that was a horror. I was trying to make a pun. It was so bad. I'm just gonna stop. was so bad.
That was
I'm not even gonna tell you.
absolutely horrible.
No, I'm not even gonna tell you what the pun was supposed to be. I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you can guess what it was, props to you, because that was just horrible. But I think that's where we just gotta end it. I think
Confusion used confusion. It hurt itself in confusion.
And I'm very confused. I think we need to stop. I think we need to stop.
Well, before he hurts himself, well, even more than he already has, thank you very much for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx, signing out.
That's all. This is The Confusion. Peace.